Hey everyone, how are you today? It's Mr. J here with another episode of Evolution Now. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope that everyone had a safe holiday and that you enjoyed your time with friends and family. As always, thank you for your support. It means the world as we continue to bring this positive message and trying to inspire and to motivate people to live a better life. What are we going to talk about today? Well, it's a lot going on in the world. I'm sure you all are aware of that. But what I want to get into today is the significance of your life. The significance of your life. Do you realize that there's no one on the planet like you at all? There might be individuals with similar characteristics and things of that nature, but there's no one like you in particular. Your life is of great value to the world itself. Many of us, for whatever reason, find ourselves in this mundane approach towards life, that your life really doesn't matter for much, or you're just working day to day, paying your bills, and this is as good as life is going to get. Where I'm here to tell you that's not true. The power that lies dormant in all of us is really something that most of us never really take the time to explore, to find out what truly are we capable of becoming and being. Your mind is the gateway to everything that you're wanting. The mind itself is the gateway. When you marry your mind with your will and your emotions, along with your imagination, you produce something called miracles. Now, how do we do this? There are several different techniques that have been employed throughout the course of our human history, from prayer to fasting and things of that nature. But the first thing I want you to realize is that you do matter and that you do have a right to live the life that you're desiring to have happen. How do I access these abilities you're referencing, Mr. Johnson? How do I do these things? Well, the first thing you must realize is this is very difficult for most people to come to terms with, but you are a God. Now, this is not necessarily popular conversation in today's society, especially with the ideology of always being politically correct. But the fact of the matter is, there is nothing more capable than the human being. Our minds are capable of creating flat screen TVs, electric vehicles, creating digital currency, if you will, building massive highway structures, huge ships. Think about this. 100 years ago or 200 years ago, people sailed across the ocean in wooden ships. Then became steel and things of that nature. And I'm sure now they have some different type of metal that might be stronger than steel. The point I'm trying to make to you, as human beings, we are always in the process of evolving. Now, understanding that your evolution is totally incumbent upon your evolution of thought, mind, and consciousness, what you are aware of. Most people think, well, I'm going to say most people, but a lot of people do think that life is happening to them, that they're not actually a participant in what's transpiring in their life. This is the furthest thing from the truth. The fact of the matter is, you will become what you think about. Whatever the dominant thought is in your mind, if you desire to be wealthy and you consume yourself with learning about becoming wealthy, odds are you will become wealthy. If you want to learn to speak a foreign language and you spend hours on end, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you know what would happen? In a year's time, you would wind up speaking that language rather fluently. Something I want you to consider, how do we go about creating the change that we want? Well, the first thing I want you to do is to decide. And the reason I want to bring you this message in particularly today, because what we must understand is that our time is limited. We're limited from the time that you're born to the time that you die. On average, we get 75 years. 75 years to create the life that you want. And usually in that 75 years, a good portion of those years, let's just say from being an infant to 18, you're being cared for. It's amazing. And then from the age of maybe 65 and up, which really is not a lot of time. When you look at from 65 to 75, there's not a lot of time in between there. That's the time you consider you're retired or whatever. So that short span that you have between 18 and 65 to create the life you want, it's not a lot of time. Really think about it. 75 summers, 75 winters. That's all you're on average most of us are going to get. The deal is, what are we doing with the time that we do have? I highly encourage you to start to use your time wisely. You can always make more money, but you cannot, my friends, make more time. Now, what do? How do I change my life? I mean, there are people on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, always offering advice on do this, do that. I want to take more of a practical approach and tell you this. No matter how many videos you watch, no matter who you listen to, ultimately, it's your life. You're going to have to make the decisions that are necessary to put you in a position where you want to be successful. It can be somewhat arduous and sometimes taxing and sometimes very difficult. But believe it or not, even these aspects of that process of evolution are necessary in order for you to grow. It would be equivalent to trying to grow a plant without rain. You just can't give the plant sun. It needs rain and water as well for it to develop fully into what it's supposed to be, such as life with human beings. A certain level of adversity will come your way. It's not necessarily something that's put in front of you to destroy you, but to have, for lack of a better term, purge the things out of you that will no longer serve you. Ultimately, you have to make a decision. You've been given free will. You've been given the ability to imagine anything you want. Really let that digest for a moment. All of us as so-called human beings, for the most part, can imagine anything we want in our life. But unfortunately, many people imagine what they don't want. This is very important. Most people focus on what they don't want and then wonder why they get it. Focus. Whatever your intention is, and you apply your attention to your intention, you will see the manifestation of your intention. This is the basic law of reaping and sowing. This is what it is. You reap what you sow. Let me give you an example. If you find yourself angry, bitter, being mean, cruel to people, you know what's going to happen? Those same behaviors will be displayed towards you. If you find yourself being kind and generous towards people, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, you'll find those things given back to you. You see, as the ability of being a God, you're not the most high God, but we are gods. I know society says we're human beings, but you're much more than that. You chose to come here. You are a soul in a physical body. This is the truth, without all the religious dogma that's associated with this type of content. The fact of the matter is you chose to come here, whether you remember it or not. Most of us do not. But you chose to come here and you do have an assignment. Well, what is my assignment? Your assignment is simple: to make the world a better place for you being in it. Unfortunately, many people will fail at this assignment and they find themselves on this repetitive wheel, i.e. they wind up coming back. Some might not agree with that assessment, but I believe it's true. Let me give you an example. Have you ever met someone and you say to yourself, I know that person from somewhere. Even though you've never met them, you look at them and you just somehow something in your bones is telling you that you know this individual. Well, the fact is you probably do. You just don't remember where you met them at. There is no new thing under the sun. There is nothing going on now that wasn't going on 1,000 years ago, believe it or not. From murder to hate to racism to discrimination to war to poverty, there's no new thing under the sun. In essence, the game never changes, only the players of the game. This time I want you to play, but to play to win. Now here are some things, some practical steps that you can take. Number 1, decide. Number 2, don't doubt yourself. With your ability as a God, it pretty much works upon something called faith. The ability to see something in your mind and it rouses an emotion in you. It makes you feel a certain kind of way, if you will. And in this feeling, this is an emotion. So when we carry our imagination with our emotion or our energy in motion, your emotion, along with your will, and you couple it with your faith, you, my friend, are in the process of creation. You can create whatever you want. If you want your life to get better, the simple rule of thumb is this: in order for your life to get better, you have to get better. In order for your life to change, you're going to have to change. Unfortunately, many people want the people around them to change without them changing themselves. This is a recipe for failure, and I can assure you it will not sustain itself over a long period of time. Something that you're going to have to prepare yourself for as well is the journey. Now, the journey can be fun, but most likely most times it will be lonely. Oftentimes in life, when you're trying to better yourself, you're going to find yourself by yourself, because most people will only associate with you as long as you're a part of what they're doing. i.e., if we want to hang out and drink alcohol, you're going to have a bunch of guys who drink alcohol. That's what you guys do. If you have a group of kids who are very much into studying and how can I say this, elevating their intellectual prowess, you're going to find those guys all hanging together. Look at your circle. Look at the individuals that you're around. And this is not about judging anyone, but listen to what they're talking about and ask yourself one particular question. Is there any validity in their conversation that resonates with where I'm trying to go? And if not, I am not telling you not to be their friends, but I'm simply saying it's hard to elevate if the people around you are not in the same mindset to do so. You will find yourself basically taking on their behaviors, their ideologies and philosophies, and therefore not living your own truth. There is only one objective truth, but in a sense there is subjective truth as it applies to your life as an individual. What are you going to do? I highly suggest you take some time to think about it. Whether you're 18, 35, or 65, there is just certain innate things that all of us have in common. Number one, we were all born, and number two, we're all going to die. The dash in between the time of your birth and the time of your death represents the life that you live. Just ask yourself one simple question. Am I living the life that I truly want? Most people are not. This is a fact. Most people are in professions that, even though they have a professional degree in, hate what they do. You know why they have that degree? Because someone told them you got to go to school, get a degree, and they thinking if I make $160,000 or $140,000 a year and I drive a nice car, that life will be peachy keen and I will not have any issues whatsoever. This is a falsehood. And don't get me wrong, it's better to have it than not and not need it than to need it and not have it. But I can assure you, just because you have wealth or success does not mean you're going to be happy. The fact of the matter is we're all given a choice into how we're going to respond to this thing called life. My advice is simple. Be a good person. It's real simple. Be as good as you can be, as long as you can be, and as often as you can be. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody wakes up and wants to be a failure. No one wakes up and doesn't want to be successful. But most of us are never taught how to be successful. And most people equate success just with materialism and money. This is an aspect of success, but it's not success in its fullness. Are you healthy? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. What are your relationships like with your family and your friends? Do you have a circle of individuals that are moving in the right direction? Are they progressive, if you will? Or do you find yourself stagnated by innuendo and antiquated ways of thinking and just a tradition of men that leaves most people feeling numb in our existence in our society? You might beg to differ. Most people aren't feeling numb. Well, why is there so many liquor stores? Why are there so many vape shops? People are always trying to escape their reality because they're not happy with where they are. The point I'm simply trying to make to you, we must think. The reason we do evolution here now is to get us to think. Most people react to their problems. They react to a situation. Something happens, they react to it. Something goes on, they react to it. But what I want you to do is to understand that I can be proactive and create the reality that I want. The best way to predict the future is to create it. I'm going to say this to you again. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Will it be easy? It will be as easy as you are willing to change. I'm going to say this to you again. It will be as easy as you are willing to change. I hope this helps you and inspires you and lets you know that your life does matter. So with that being said, understanding that practical application, repetition, being mindful of what you're thinking, and equally as important, what you're feeling. Particularly, I'm saying this to the men. A lot of times as men, we're taught to be stoic and not to display our emotions, and believe me, I get it. But a lot of times that could be something to our own detriment. If you're too cold towards your children or towards your spouse, it won't breed the result you're looking for. So you have to have some level of balance, emotional intelligence, as well as sheer force and will. If one could rule their own spirit and master their own way of thinking, that individual within itself has reached a level of ascension that anything is possible to them. The fact is simple. It's your life. You have to decide. The first thing I want you to do is decide. Now, once you make that decision, here's what I want you to do. Stop doubting yourself. Oh, Mr. Johnson, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. It's not working out. Be patient. Rome was not built in a day. If I give you a simple analogy on how the world works, and what I'm referencing is the world of creation, I'm going to give it to you in this scenario. If I take a lemon seed and then I put it in the ground and I cover it with dirt and put water on it, if I come out the next day, there's not a tree out there. It might take several years for that tree just to become a tree, and it might be a year or two later before it even produces any fruit. But the fact of the matter is, the lemon seed is not concerned with how long it takes. You are. I'm going to say that to you again. Whatever your desire is, whatever you're desiring to make happen, or you want to manifest or bring about, or you're praying for in your life, the only one concerned with the time frame of it is you. Because what is for you is for you. It's the law. And the law is immutable. It cannot be broken. In other words, what goes up must come down. Lemons produce lemons. Apple seeds produce apple seeds. Your thoughts produce that in which are in you. So if you find yourself in a life that's not fulfilling, I'm not happy, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm filled with worry, I'm filled with anxiety, whatever these negative thoughts might be, and I know they carry weight within themselves, but do you know you are not a slave to anything? You have the ability and the power to change your life. The first thing you got to change is your inner conversation with yourself. What do you tell yourself about yourself every day? If you are a young woman, do you think you're beautiful, or do you think I'm not attractive? If you are a young man, do you think, oh, I'm not tall enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, whatever the case might be? Don't you understand that all of these arguments are taking place in your own mind? And because they take place in your mind and you believe them to be true, they become part of your reality. This is how all of this is working. The greatest secret kept from us is the knowledge of self, the knowledge of what we're truly capable of doing as so-called human beings. Can you imagine the mind power it takes to build a rocket and to shoot it up into the atmosphere? Or how about just to lay out the infrastructure of a city with your massive highways and thousands of cars driving back and forth every day? It's frankly a miracle that millions of people aren't killed every day. But the fact of the matter is that we can adapt. As human beings, we can adapt to pretty much any circumstance or situation. In that ability to adapt to a circumstance, it doesn't mean you have to become content with it. You might have adapted to where you are. Where you are, start where you are. You might adapt it to the fact, hey, I don't have a lot of money, or hey, I don't have a great deal of education. Whatever it might be, it's of no consequence. Believe me, it's of no consequence, because all you have is now. The only thing that matters is the present moment. So as you watch this video or this reel and you exit and you go about your day, ask yourself, whether you're in your cubicle at work or you're working for yourself or remote work, whatever it is you're doing, you're driving, whatever the case might be, just simply ask yourself one question. Am I living my best life? And if not, what am I going to do to change it? Well, you heard some good advice today. Decide. Once you decide, don't doubt. Now, the basic rule of thumb with the law of reciprocity, reaping and sowing, is faith without works is dead. Now, if you remove the religious dogma associated with that scripture and just look at it for what it's telling you, no matter if you believed in Christianity, you're Muslim, or whatever different denomination one has, the fact is saying this: it only works if we believe it. This is how all of this stuff works. It works because you believe it. There's a scripture that says, faith is the substance of the thing hoped for, the evidence of the thing not seen. Let's make it real simple. Faith is a real thing. It's the substance, the matter of the creation itself. It's the evidence of the thing hoped for. Don't you see what it's really saying to you? It's the fact that you believe it is what makes it real. It's the fact that you believe it that brings it from the invisible realm into this realm. Think about it. Did we always have an electric vehicle, or did someone think it up? Did you always have, fast food restaurants, or did someone think it up? No, don't you see that everything around us is a product of thought? Everything. The vehicles, the hospitals, the highways, the banks, everything is a product of thought. And you, my friend, are part of the collective consciousness that participates in this whole way of living. The deal is, most of us never really think for ourselves. We listen to news, the media, social media, if you will, and we let others sway our opinions and what we believe or what we even think's possible for ourselves. Nothing is without your reach if you can believe it. And this is a lifelong process. I do not want to give you the impression that I have all the answers, because I do not. But what I do know, I will share, and I know this. If God be for you, nothing can be against you. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to worry about. There's no ounce of worrying that's going to change your future, and there's no ounce of regret that will change your past. It is entirely up to us and what we do with the time that we have. Be encouraged. Be the light in the world filled with darkness. We all see it. There's darkness all around us. Now you have two choices. I can become part of the darkness, or I can become part of the light. Whichever decision you make, you must take all that comes with it. Remember that. There's only two sides to this coin, if you will. Just like night and day, hot and cold, short, tall, fat, skinny, rich, poor, health, sick, good, evil. There's only two choices. And you, my friend, must choose to be either or. Now, if you're down in the middle, I feel bad for you, because you're the individual that's not too good and not too evil and don't want to pick a side. We must choose what side we will participate in. We must choose either the side of righteousness or darkness. We must choose either the side of love or hate. We must choose to be good or to be bad. Your children, as you're raising them, you're always telling them, be good, sweetheart. You're telling your little son to be a good young man. You're telling your little girl to be good. Why do you have to keep telling them to be good? Because most people's natural state is evil. Most people will be more focused on negative than on positive. Most people will talk about you as opposed to help you. I don't know why it is this way, but it is that way. That's why so many people say, if I could just have one good friend, I'd be happy. I mean, think about that. 9 billion souls, and yet people are still lonely. 9 billion souls upon this planet, and yet there are individuals with no friends whatsoever. The world needs fixing. It's just that simple. The world needs to be fixed. And the only way the world will be fixed if it's the individuals in it fix it. Quit waiting on they and them to do something. Who is they and them that's going to do anything for you? You be the change. Start where you are. Start in your home. You need to be a better husband, be a better husband. You need to be more loving, more patient, more understanding, then do that. As a wife, if you need to be more nurturing, more supportive, more loving, then do that. Whatever one's endeavoring to do, then do it. It's like the Nike slogan, just do it. At the end of the day, your life should count for something. It's significant. Do you have any idea what it takes to create you? Any idea? All of what you had to go through to get here. And now you're here. That should tell you how strong you are. I mean, really think about that. Millions of sperm cells all trying to reach an egg. And out of all of those, you're the one who made it. You fought to come here. And most of us don't want to leave. That's why no one wants to die. So ask yourself, what is my assignment? Are you really here just to acquire material possessions? That's part of it. But the poor, the needy, the shed-in, the sick, the weak, the fatherless, all the individuals of our society in which, for whatever reason, we tend to push aside. You, my friend, if you're seeing this, you're meant to hear it. Make the change. Be the change that the world needs. Death is just an illusion. Believe me, you'll never die. You'll never die. But in the process of living, you must be willing to die for what's right, particularly for yourselves. And this is some heavy conversation, and I get it, and most people don't speak to you in these terms, be that as it may. But I'm too old to waste my time telling you nonsense, things that will not benefit you. Most of everyone who's listened to me, I'm sure, are very smart individuals. What's 2 + 2? I'm sure you answered it. It's 4. You're smart. Mr. Johnson is wise. They're not the same thing. Wisdom will save your life. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Remember, decide, don't doubt, keep your faith, speak it. Everything you need is inside of you. Believe me, speak it, believe it. Well, how often should I say these things, Mr. Johnson? I want you to say it till you believe it. Till you believe what you're saying. That's how it works. Faith without works is dead. Faith is the substance of the thing hoped for. You're hoping for a car. You're hoping for a job. You're hoping for more money, whatever. Faith is that substance, and it's the evidence of the thing unseen. What is it saying? The fact that you believe it, my friends, is what makes it real. It's what makes it come from the ethereal realm or the invisible realm into this realm of existence. And you have this ability right now. You don't have to go searching for it. You don't need to go on some quest for the Holy Grail. Not at all. The journey starts inwardly. The conversation you're having with yourself. Don't beat yourself up any longer. Build yourself up. Life is happening to you, through you, and for you. Become the master of your own ship, if you will. Remember, your mind wakes at will. I'm Mr. Johnson. I hope these words have helped you. Be loving, particularly to other people, but also I say this to yourself. Love yourself enough to give yourself the very best. Love yourself enough to be happy. And when you see that you can help. When you see that there's a need, if you can facilitate it, do it. The world is in short supply of people willing to help. I'm willing, and I believe my followers are willing to help as well. Be the change. As a matter of fact, what I want you to put in the comment section is, here's how I'm willing to help. Here's how I'm willing to help. Without the light workers, if you will, without the children of God, if you will, without you individuals who are just good, without all the different things that separate us, there is a common message. We know that the world needs fixing, and I challenge all of you who are listening to be a part of the world that's fixing it. I hope this message encouraged you. I want you to have a happy and prosperous new year. Listen, a lot of people are going to make resolutions in a couple of days saying they're going to do this and going to do that. I've never been a big fan of that, because the fact of the matter is simply this. It's January 2024 is coming up. If you want to be better, you'll be better. There's no date for you to set to do it. If you really want to do it, you'll do it. It's just that simple. Quit giving yourself an out. Quit giving yourself an excuse to not do the things you and I know you're supposed to be doing. You know, I used to be guilty of that. I lost 75 pounds. You know why? I was guilty of eating too much food. And I'd always said someday I'm going to do this and blah, 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 until it almost cost me my life. And it's only at the precipice of adversity does a human being change. In other words, don't let your back be put against the wall in order for you to change your life. What else do I have to say? Not much, really. Whatever resolutions you're going to do, hey man, just stick to it. Just stick to it. If you need to eat better, eat better. You need to get in the gym, get in the gym. You need to work out, work out. You need to save more money, start saving money. You want to learn about investments, learn about investments. Be prepared for what's coming. For the world is not changing. The world has changed. I'm going to say this to you again. The world is not changing. The world has changed. Things are entirely different now. And you know what's going to happen? Millions upon millions of people are going to be left behind. Stay abreast of technology. Stay abreast of current events. Stay abreast of these financial institutions and your money and how to maneuver throughout our society. The world is not changing. The world has changed. And believe it or not, you're changing along with it. The question is simply this: what are you changing into? Again, I wish you nothing but the very best. Be bold. Be confident. Do not be fearful. Do not be fearful. Do not doubt yourself. Decide. Execute, speak, feel, and watch what you create in your life. I'm Mr. Johnson. I thank you so much for listening to me. Have a blessed and prosperous day, and remember, your mind makes it real. Peace.